Hi guys, thanks for watching. I'm Saumya. So today's video is a May wrap up and a June TBR. I wanted to post this video in the beginning of June, but because of some reason or the other, delays kept happening and now this video is going to go up in the mid of June, which is alright, I guess. Better late than never. If you are a book lover, then you should definitely hit subscribe, because on my channel Saumya's Bookstation I make loads of bookish content, and do not forget to press the bell icon so that every time I post a video you get notified. So I'm going to start by talking about my May wrap up. I'm going to talk about 5 books, out of which 3 are the ones that I read and 2 I listened to as audiobooks, and then I'm going to move to my June TBR, which is going to be super short. Now beginning with my May wrap up, the first book is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. I listened to this one as an audiobook on Storytel. This book is actually non-fiction and it is autobiographical. It has been written by Paul Kalanithi himself. So Paul Kalanithi was a neurosurgeon who was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer at the age of 36. He was married and he was on the brink of a phenomenal career, but then he was diagnosed with this terminal illness. So this book is divided in 2 parts. The first part talks about his life before cancer and the second part talks about his life after cancer in his own words. The entire book is a very moving experience to read, more so because Paul Kalanithi died even before finishing his book. He died while writing this book. This book was published posthumously. It was published after his death, so we already knew that he did not survive. Everything in this book is heartbreaking, from the time he talks about his early years to the time he talks about how he doesn't know for how long he's going to survive or not. It's a very beautifully written book and a must read. The next book is All Roads Lead to Ganga by Ruskin Bond. So this one is non-fiction and a travel memoir by Ruskin Bond, as he talks about visiting different places in Uttarakhand. Having visited quite a few of them myself, I loved reading this book, although I kind of fell into a reading slump while reading it, not because of this book but because I had a lot of other things going on, so it became a little tough to read this book and it took me a little longer than it should have. This book was published quite a while back. So in this book he's talking about how the Tehri Dam is in the process of being built. Well, Tehri Dam has already been built and I've been there several times. It's beautiful, but I loved reading in this book how it used to be before the dam was there, so that was great. The next book is 235959 by Sadashiv Pradhan. So I've done a detailed review of this book on my channel. You can check it out. I'll leave the link in the description box. So it's a story of the students in the #1 B school in India, and it talks about the cutthroat competition that exists in such B schools and how because of that cutthroat competition there is a lot of pressure on the students, and how a lot of students are ready to do anything and get to their goal by hook or by crook. So this book has a lot of characters. There is Jay, who takes admission in MBA because he is able to crack the entrance exam, but he does not really know why he wants to do MBA. His friend Ishan wants to do MBA because he wants to learn from it, and his friend Abhimanyu wants to do MBA because he wants to land the highest package that he can get during the placements. So even though his friends have very singular pursuits, Jay himself is quite confused. The good thing about this book is that it gives you a very deep insight in how the lives of the students of B school are. The book wasn't edited properly and the language was a little too raw. The story sometimes dragged a little bit. Anyway, if you want to know more about this book, you can check out my detailed review. The next book is An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. So I listened to this one as an audiobook on Storytel as well, and I cannot recommend this book enough. And I was so happy when I found out that this book actually ended up winning the Women's Prize for Fiction 2019, because it's a great read. So this is a story about husband and wife Roy and Celestial. They are in their early 30s, they are financially stable and their careers are going good. So basically everything in their life is good, until one day everything comes crashing down when Roy is convicted for a crime that he did not commit. So this book has a lot of themes. One of the themes is that how black people are discriminated against in the US, because Roy is a black man who is convicted for 12 years time in the prison for a crime he did not commit. He is not served justice because of his race. And the second theme in the book is that how a lot of times it's the circumstances which are at fault and not the people. The story is about how when Roy is sent to prison, Celestial initially tries to be very faithful to him, but slowly and steadily she starts drifting away from him. Roy is released in 5 years instead of 12, so he comes back to Celestial. The entire book is a phenomenal experience, and as I said, I highly recommend it. And finally, I would like to talk about Bestseller by Ahmed Faiyaz. I have reviewed this one as well. The link for the review will be in the description. So this story is taking place in the Indian publishing world. So Akshay Mathur, who used to work in a literary magazine back in the UK, has now come to India to work in Kaleem Publishing House. Now, Kaleem Publishing House used to be a successful business back in the day, but now it's kind of on its last leg. So Akshay Mathur, along with a few other employees at Kaleem Publishing, need to publish 5 best-selling titles in the coming year so that they keep the business of Kaleem Publishing House going. Otherwise, it is going to go defunct. So this book gets witty from time to time. It has been written effortlessly, and there are some unexpectedly amusing things that happen in this book. But at the same time, I would like to say that I had a little bit of an issue with Akshay Mathur's character. At least in the first half, I really disliked him. In the second half, he was kind of okay. Now on to my June TBR. It's going to be a very short TBR. So currently I am reading The Inheritance of Loss by Kiran Desai. I had got this book last year from Daryaganj Book Market, and since then it had been waiting to be read, sitting on my bookshelf, but I finally started it. I have only read 50 pages of this book so far, and I know for a fact that I'm going to take my own time with this book because Kiran Desai's writing in this book is turning out to be quite poetic, and this is definitely not the kind of book that you can fly through. At least that is how it is proving to be for me. So this is a story about a 17-year-old orphan girl named Sai who lives with her grandfather, who is a retired old judge, and they live at the foot of Mount Kanchenjunga. So the main things going on in this book are the love affair between Sai and her tutor Gyan, and then it also talks about the Nepalese insurgency in their area. Next book in my really short TBR is Milkman by Anna Burns. I have talked about this book earlier as well, but the first time that I had picked it up, I had to put it down because I understood the main theme of the book, which was an 18-year-old girl getting stalked and sexually harassed by a man who is much older than her, but I could not understand the background in this book properly. So before picking it up for the second time, I did some research which paid off because now I'm able to understand this book, and I am towards the end of this book, and I must say I love this book, but I do not recommend it to everybody because it is definitely a difficult read and kind of intimidating also. So nothing in this book has been named, neither the place nor the characters, but with the research that I did, I found out that the background of this book is basically that it is taking place in the northern Ireland of the 1970s. The background that it is set in is the religious tensions that existed in the Northern Ireland back in the 70s. The sentences are extremely long, and a lot of times while telling one thing, the author digresses and she starts talking about something else completely, and that something else goes on for 2-3 pages, and then she comes back to the main topic. But once you get a hang of this writing style, you really get invested in this book, which is what happened to me. So it's a story of an 18-year-old girl who is being stalked by one of the political figures in her area, and she is not able to go to anybody for help. So that is the premise of the story, and how she deals with it, how she's handling it, is what this book is about. Let me know in the comments which books are you reading currently. I would love to hear from you guys. So that was it. If you want to connect with me on my social media, the links are in the description. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye.